Welcome, everybody, to Titan Radio. This is Startup Talk, and we're broadcasting from Fullerton, California at Cal State Fullerton. The show is all about startups and entrepreneurships, and it's every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So in the weeks to come, you're going to hear all sorts of folks who are startup advisors, who are involved in a startup or just have an opinion. And it's my pleasure to be the host. I'm John Bradley Jackson, and I'm professor of entrepreneurship at Cal State Fullerton and director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. And in that capacity, I run 2 incubators where we work with startups that are taking their idea from basic concept to revenue, hoping to provide value to their customers, help them get funded. I'm also the founder of Titan Angels, which is an angel investment fund, which is a whole bunch of fun. My background is in technology up in Silicon Valley. I did a tour on Wall Street, and I learned about greed with a capital G. And this is kind of my third career. So you can follow us at www.fullerton.edu, or you can find me at johnbradleyjackson.com on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Titan Radio actually broadcasts in 130 different countries. This is a live broadcast, and we'll also create a podcast. And if you find me overly defining things, I'm just thinking of my friends in Zimbabwe and how they don't know where Cal State Fullerton is or what we're doing. So welcome, Zimbabwe people. So today's guest is stand-up comedian and improvisational expert Nanciann Horvath, and she is the founder of Improv for Health and does a number of things. I'll let her over the course of the hour talk about her different activities. But the reason I've asked Nancy to join us is the essence of entrepreneurship is improvisation. It's every day is a new day. And the joke that I tell too many times is kind of like having dementia, in that you get new information and then you have to adapt, and that's called pivot. And so you kind of meet new people, you do new things every single day. So welcome, Nanciann.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I love being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So how about we start just a little bit with improvisation, and tell us what that means.
Improvisation, sorry to use the word, is to improvise, to make up, to be present in the moment, and honestly not know where we're going. And the thing that I have added to my talks is if you're present for yourself and your loved ones, you're healthier too. So being present and mindful, which is a very big word, is a big thing now. So adding that new dimension to your life entirely, whether it's family, friends, work, starting up a new business, that's what improvisation is.
Interesting. So I was doing a little homework, and I'm the type of person who does that. And one of the things that I read was the importance when you're improvising is listening.
Yes, totally. And I say when you're in an improv situation, whether it's a fake story that I give you to pretend with somebody else, you must listen. So when you exercise your improv muscle, you will learn to listen in an entirely different way. You will learn to listen between the lines. And a lot of times people do tell you what's bothering them, but maybe you're too busy thinking about what you're going to say next or where you're going next. But people do tell you. You just have to learn to listen in a different way.
Interesting. So as I was telling you before the show, I have a friend who's a psychotherapist, and it's none of your business that I have a friend who's a psychotherapist. But one of the things that she tells me is that, well, when you're talking with someone, you stay in the moment, you listen, and you don't really need to take notes. And her rationale is that people, when you have a conversation, whether it's in depth or a few seconds with a cocktail, they usually want to make a couple key points, and they'll just sit there and repeat themselves again and again. So if you listen, you'll hear them, right?
And the big thing with conversation these days, which is different from when you and I were in high school, is people need to put down their phones and be in the moment. So my saying in life is enjoy your moments, because that's really all we have. Because I am a real nurse, and I've seen people lose their moments or think they're going to have more. So it's like, put your phone down and talk to people, and maybe they'll tell you new stuff, because nobody else ever thought about listening and asking those questions. What a concept.
So you might clarify, so you're a nurse?
I'm a real nurse.
A real nurse.
It means I have my license, and I still do some nursing jobs. Currently, I've been given lots of flu shots because it's flu season, and I still keep that up. And when I started in nursing, I realized that they don't allow time for the nurses or doctors, for that matter, to sit and listen to the patients. It's all rote. Tell me what hurts, boom, 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 and out the door. So I was a fun nurse. I would sit on the bed and talk to Mr. Smith and find out what's going on. And then I also did acting on the side. And I realized in acting, that's where we all have to do improvisation. So improv for actors is a common thing. And I realized people need this in their real life, whether it's in their business life, with their family, with their friends, because improv is a skill and it's a muscle. So I'll keep saying that it's a muscle. It's similar to, there's a Kaiser commercial, I think, where you do one push-up and they go, I'm done for the day. Well, you can't do one improv and go, that's it. You have to incorporate it in your life throughout the day.
So let's go back to improv for a minute. So are there any rules?
There is one rule, John.
One rule.
One rule. That's it.
Okay, I'm listening. What is it?
It's really easy. It's never negate. Don't say no. So suppose we're doing an improv scene and we're outside in the park and we're talking about the alligators in the park, and you're like, no, I don't see alligators. Well, that just ends it. So if you say yes, and I also see some squirrels, that is a way that the story can go on. And we need to learn this in life, because by negating, it shuts the door. So I always say no but shuts the door, but yes and will open many doors.
Piece of trivia. So when I was in college, I was a shoe salesperson.
Oh.
Tom McCann, which is a brand which nobody knows.
I've heard of them.
Right? And so one of your jobs was to greet the customer as they come in, and it would be something like, "Hello, can I help you?" What would they say?
No, thank you.
No, thanks.
That's it. No,
and
thanks.
Then, so what I would do is I would walk away probably 5 steps, and then turn around, and they'd suddenly have a shoe in their hand saying, "Yeah, do you have this in a 7A?" Right?
That's right. That's right. They did need your help. Yes.
Well, and the immediate reaction, is to say no.
And our society is brought up by that. So I joke, I'm also a mom of 2 very wonderful boys. They're 30 and 26. And when they were younger, they would say, "Can I eat the sweets?" Yes, after you eat the healthy food. Can we go to the park? Yes, after you finish your homework. So if parents start saying yes to kids versus no, don't do that, no, don't touch that. Even with, yes, if you touch that hot, stove, you'll burn your fingers off, and then you won't have any more fingers. I mean, I would get real dramatic. But kids need to hear yes more. Our whole society is no, 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 no. And there is a way to get your point across. I know it seems a little, round the block way. Somebody one time said that, but it really does work.
So for improvisation, what you need is yourself. You need another person or persons, and basically a situation, like a setup. Is that correct?
A setup. That's a good way to say that. A setup. And, I've done improv with large groups, small groups, one-on-one, and a setup could help. Where are we going? What are we doing? There's always a problem. And then how are we going to solve this together? But it's not worked out in advance. You honestly don't know. You know, there's a problem here, and we'll just kind of roll with the punches and see where it's going to go. So even today at this large meeting, we went around and we did a yes and, where I pointed to people and they all had to say another situation. Yes and, and we ended up that we were all at the park having a good time.
Nice. And in fact, you're such a believer in improvisation that you have a company called Improv for Health.
Yes, I do.
Tell
I
us
started
about
my
it.
business, Improv for Health, a few years ago because I'm going to circle back when you mentioned dementia. And I knew that people need this in their real life. And then through the years, it's moved into the business world, it's moved into academia with you, it's moved into schools, hospitals. And now when I speak, people are like, you know, the caretakers need this because caretakers are constantly pulled every which way. So they need some skills. So people are now bringing me in to hospitals where the caretakers will be getting my improv classes because I give a few points that they can use in their everyday life. And my business is Improv for Health. Yes, it is.
In fact, that's your website.
That's my website, and never put an E on improv because that's IMPROVFORHEALTH.com. So when I get emails or mail and it says Improve for Health, I just throw them away.
So how did you come across this idea that improvisation could be helpful for older people or entertaining? So, you know, under the guise of improv, was this an accident that happened? Or?
It was and it wasn't. Being a nurse and an actor, which I've always done all my life, I saw that people are holding things in. And I like to say your health starts up in your head and it goes all the way down to your baby toe. So it's like the more we hold in, it causes stress and it causes problems with our throat and our gut and our stomach and our heart. So it's like people need to say things, let it go. So when I'm giving a talk, I give a little scenario, like I'm on a bus and somebody has heels on and they step on my toe. If I don't say anything, she doesn't know that. And then I hold it in and I say, John, don't talk to that lady. She's really mean. She steps on toes. All I had to do was say, ouch. She'd say sorry, and we're friends. But people do this, whether it's in work or life or family. Even if somebody says something to you, you could say, ouch, I didn't like the way you said that. Oh, I didn't mean it that way. So,
yeah, interesting. So my observation is that although the root cause of no may be parents, but they go first thing to kindergarten, to elementary school, and it's, you know, be quiet, sit at your desk, get in line, and you had to color between the lines.
Yes.
And that carries forward to my students at the university, and my challenge to them is we're going to break that because we're going to go back and discover the joy of childhood and that it's their responsibility now to embrace that and to do what's fun and use their inner child to create.
I like that. Color outside the lines. When I give a talk, I have a 3x5 card, and it does say, use yes and every day. Make mistakes. Mistakes are good. You'll learn from them. Do more. Enjoy every moment. Every moment is an opportunity, and learn to listen between the lines. And these are like daily reminders. And I've given them out, and people go, you know, I have it up in my car or my refrigerator, and it really makes sense. You know, so many times we're worried about making mistakes. This is what improv is. And like you said, startups, it's okay.
Yeah, and in fact, with the startup world, there's lots of mistakes and hypotheses that are wrong. And so the challenge will be to seek what is negative feedback, which is, well, how you make your idea better or fix it. And that's a hard one for a lot of people.
It is hard. It is hard.
So,
and, you know, if they're starting a business, they think sometimes there's only one way to do it. But you and I know there's other ways to do it. Or listen, because JJ will step in and he'll say, have you thought about this way or that way? And a lot of times that's how it is with people. I've always done it this way. I've always done it that way. Well, try it a different way. And also, new ideas and new situations keeps us younger. I have a saying, age is only a number. As long as we have a number, we're ahead of the game. So that's a good, who cares what number you are?
So you're a mom, you're a nurse.
Yes,
and then you're an actress. So how did the acting come about?
Well, I grew up on the East Coast, and I always did community theater. Then I lived in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, Morristown, and I worked at a hospital, and I took classes in New York City. So it was a matter of leaving that safe, secure job, and I lived in Manhattan, Upper West Side, 71st and Central Park West. I worked for an oncologist part-time, and then I did off Broadway. I worked at Radio City Music Hall. So I guess you could say I was always combining both worlds. And I have to say, nursing has been very good to me. I highly recommend it to anybody. It's one of those jobs you can do it part-time, you can jump in, jump out, do it full-time for a while or part-time. And there's many different types of nursing. It's not just hospital nursing.
And then your work in acting, it was theater,
I did
TV.
Yes, I did theater back in New York. When I came here, somehow they found me on the soap operas because I can walk and talk and say epinephrine and play a nurse. And so I started doing, that's how I got my Screen Actors Guild card on a soap opera, Days of Our Lives. And now I actually work as a baby nurse, which means I'm not on the camera, the babies are. It's called a set baby nurse. So the babies can only be on camera for 2 hours. Well, actually, in the building for 2 hours. They work 20 minutes at a time. So I'm the nurse on the set, and I've done that. But yeah, I still do nursing, acting, commercials. And then with my business, I'm building that up, and I could do that anywhere, online, for cameras, anywhere.
Cool. And somewhere in the recent past, you said, okay, I'm an actress, I like to perform, I like to improvise. Well, why don't I be a stand-up comic?
Well, that was one of those crazy things that somebody saw me giving my talk on improv, and they said, why don't you do some stand-up? I said, well, I hate to write. So I sat down and wrote up a few things. And yes, over the years, I've been at the Irvine Improv, and I actually just got back from Portland, Oregon. I did some stand-up there. My stand-up is clean. However, I do throw in some medical terms, so they learn stuff. And again, laughter keeps us all young. So yeah, the stand-up is just happening. I'm open to whatever.
Yeah. So the nature of your comedy, what's your shtick? What's your subjects?
It's medical related. I talk about how on the plane they try to nickel and dime you. So I wear Tupperware in my bra, and I pull out lettuce and tomato, and I say, I'm not paying for that sandwich. And then some guy sitting next to me said, wait a minute, you said you're from the East Coast. I bet you have sauerkraut. I said, no, but on a healthy note, sauerkraut, kimchi, and pickles are very good for your brain. Did you know that healthy brain, healthy gut, happy gut, healthy brain? So next time, leave the Valium at home and just bring sauerkraut for everybody.
There we go. There we go. So, are you performing weekly?
I perform wherever I can, where people ask me to. I had a friend in Portland that was bugging me to come, so I went, and she got me in 4 days. I was on 4 stages, so that was fun. And I just did a comedy show last weekend. In December, I'm going to be the main performer for the Parkinson's Association. So they're having me in Mission Viejo for Parkinson's, and I have to go for about 45 minutes, but I'll probably do some interactive stuff and play with the audience there too.
That's really interesting. So I love the tie with the other parts of you. So there's the comic, comedienne performing, there's the medical person, there's the acting person. What's it like to be on stage, knowing that you're there to entertain and get people to laugh, I guess?
It's a big high. I mean, most people know that, but you have to be prepared. You have to look over your material, know what you're going to say. Each audience is a little different. I do try to customize it, whether it's one of my improv talks or whether it's a comedy. I try to customize it for each audience. Now I'm trying to think up some things for the Parkinson's people. That's a big thing. Talking about Parkinson's, this just popped into my mind. I read all of Michael J. Fox's books, and he uses the term GNH. So I borrowed that. GNH stands for Gross National Happiness. So we all need to increase our GNH. And we all know Michael J. Fox went through a lot. So increase your GNH out there, folks. It really is important. Gross national happiness.
So are there any comedians that have influenced your work? Is there someone that you think of?
Well, since I've been doing it, I do like Jay Leno, and we all miss Robin Williams. I like Lily Tomlin. I've been compared to her a couple times. And locally, Don Friesen, he's in L.A. area, and he also performs in Las Vegas. There's a guy, Marty Ross, who started comedy when he retired. So he must have started in his 50s or 60s. And this guy is going strong at 70. And he drives all over the place. He goes to Vegas. And also the Pete George is a local. These are some of the local ones. But, yeah, I got to be friends with Jimmy Brogan. Jimmy Brogan used to write for The Tonight Show. Mm-hmm. And he's another one that a lot of times they're very relaxed on stage. They engage the audience. We all know some audience members don't like to be called on and picked on. But we're not picking on them. We're just asking them, where are you from? And then Jimmy Brogan will do that. At the end, he goes, so you saw I really don't have any material. I just ask, where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? So I may do that for the Parkinson's people. And just engage them because they like that.
Yeah. So some of the names you've dropped, I know very skilled comedians, and it's a lot of work to deliver that 10-minute set. Mm-hmm. And it's hours and hours and hours of writing and then trying the jokes out.
You're right.
So that's part of the stand-up comedy.
That's part of it. And it was challenging in Portland, I'll tell you, because my friend said, come on out, I'll get you up on 4 stages. And then she tells me, each stage gives you 4 or 5 minutes. So I was like, okay, let's shorten it and tighten it. And I was able to do it. So I was proud of myself. And I did 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you also mentioned Robin Williams.
Yes.
And it's my perception that most of his performance was improvisation. Now, it may have been things that he had thought about that he might talk about that night.
Right.
But he was rather gifted.
He was. And I have a saying, you have to have your arsenal. So you have different things that you talk about on stage, and it won't work for each audience. I'm a little unique. I come on stage with gloves, and they're medical gloves, and everybody's like, what's she doing? And I say, well, with the way healthcare is changing, folks, you are responsible for your own healthcare. So we're going to have a group physical, and we all clap 2 times, and if they clap well, I say, see you pass, that's it. So we try to, I've heard be what you are, but maybe a little more. That's sort of what it's all about. But I do like the stand-up. It's challenging in other ways, but I feel like the Improv for Health is where I could touch more lives. I really do.
Cool. So I have a kind of a pondering type question, but so have you learned anything about yourself by doing stand-up? Has it increased your awareness about who you are, what you're going to do?
I think it has, because we all have a gift, and I say some of us want to share that gift, but I know so many people have told me they're just afraid to take the moment and do it. And I kind of encourage people. I say, this is your life. You only have one go around, but you must enjoy your moment. So I've learned to kind of slow down, maybe think, live in the moment. I don't talk on the phone when I drive. I don't text. There's a lot of crazy drivers out there. You have to pay attention every day. And also, I use the saying, curiosity is generosity. So if you're curious about somebody else's life and you ask them a question, they'll be touched, and you may learn a heck of a lot. So let's all be a little more curious and generous, too. That's
cool.
Yeah.
So let's go back in time to maybe your childhood. Were you always like this? I mean,
yeah, I think I was, because my mom told me I was called the cookie girl. So good thing I don't weigh 200 pounds. I guess I went around and asked the neighbors, you got any cookies? And then I would sit and talk to them. So if she couldn't find me, I was always at somebody's house. having cookies. So that's what I did. My mom said, yeah, I was almost pretty much friendly. So I'm an oldest, and, she was probably busy with the younger kids, and I just went around and asked the neighbors, you got any cookies?
There you go. Now, this was back in the East Coast.
In Pennsylvania, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, yes.
Okay,
yes.
All right, very cool.
Yes.
And as you were in high school, what were you involved in theater, or what?
I was. Looking back, I was in the theater. I did all the drama. I did all the plays, and then I was also in the Future Nurses. So it kind of worked out. I did both.
Wow! That early, you had a vision at least.
I did. We lived next to a hospital growing up, so I said I'll just be a nurse, and then I just started doing theater. I guess I didn't realize there was a California, and I could have actually gone the theater way right away, but nursing has been good to me. It's helped pay the bills, and there's always jobs out there.
Okay, cool. And your family, you were the oldest. How
yes.
many?
I have 2 younger sisters and a younger brother. And my mom's still alive. She's a little Spitfire at 86, 87. My dad passed away 3 or 4 years ago. So.
And what were they like?
My mom was always involved in theater. As a young kid, her and I actually did a lot of community theater. She was always, and my father was self-employed. He owned a hardware store. I like to compare it to Richie Cunningham. We lived in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where Lehigh University is. So my other 2 sisters jumped right in. So I have to say they know the difference between a nut and a bolt and a wrench. With me, I would just walk up and down the aisles, and with the young Lehigh students, I'm like, together we can find this. So I don't ask me to bring you a tool. Okay. It might not be the right one, but my sisters do know the difference.
Yeah, the reason I ask these personal questions is it's my conclusion, and who am I, that we're kind of the sum of all our parts, and when we're young, we start exhibiting these characteristics, these interests, these aptitudes, and they congeal in adulthood. And so I see with the entrepreneurial folks that I get a chance to collaborate with, oftentimes they were exhibiting this in small ways as they were growing up, and it just kind of snowballed.
That's true. That's true. I believe it was always there, for most people, and for me, it was definitely there. So here I was talking to people asking for cookies, so now I'm talking to people saying, let's do a little improv in your life. Yeah. So I do believe it was there. You're right. I agree with you there.
So you were saying that recently you did a session with a group of people that were suffering from dementia. Is that correct?
Yes. And those sessions, you never know what they're going to go like, because we'll go around the room and we'll say your first name and say an action word. So you would think John would say jumping, but not necessarily. John can say knitting. And we'll just say, well, that's close. Yeah. So I had a lot of people actually jumping in and saying things. It was great. And this one guy just sat in the corner. His arms are folded. He didn't say too much. And I'd point to him. He goes, no, not really. At the end, he gets up. He goes, my name is Art. I worked in aeronautics, and I like what you're doing here, girlie. So he was taking it all in. And he listened, but he just wasn't going to play along. But so he gave me all the A words, art, aeronautics. And yeah.
So it's interesting. So we're all different, and we learn differently. Like some people are very visual, some are auditory, some are kinesthetic, right? And then in a group environment, some of us are extroverted and we get energy, which I would want to put you in that category. And then there are others that the interaction with others is actually exhausting, and those are the people that are introverts. So I make that observation because it in your audience, you're going to have a mix of those folks, and like there's some that it's their nature to grab the microphone and participate, and there are others not so much.
It's true. And when I do stand-up, they announce me as, hold on to your seats, folks, because we all know comics that just kind of tell stories and they're a little mellow. And I love being the host when I'm a comic. I was just the host on Saturday because I get the audience involved, and then I have to remember in little snippets, which is kind of fun. Somebody will tell a joke, and I'll pick up on that, tell another joke, and invite somebody else up. And so I get to introduce all the comics coming up. And I think you want an energetic host. You don't want a host going, whoa, rah, rah, rah. So, yeah, but you're right. People have been saying, like, wow, you have a lot of energy. I do. I don't need a lot of sleep, and I do have a lot of energy.
Yeah, I was thinking, don't need a lot of the comedy is late night, is it not?
It is. It is.
2 or 3 sets, is that
Yeah,
common,
yes,
right?
Yeah. But I'm big on naps, so I get
Okay.
up. Today I was up at 4, but I have an evening talk. I'm going to talk at a women's group tonight, but I will go home and do my 5 or 10 minute power nap, and I'll be ready to go. So, and naps are very good. Naps kind of quiet your brain. It's similar to when people meditate. I know people do that, and we need to do that throughout our day. I really believe that. Whether it's, I don't meditate because I fall asleep. I go from on to off. So that's it. But that's okay. Somebody tell me it's okay. That's sort of the way I meditate.
Yeah.
I'm either on or I'm off.
And as you build your brand as a comic, there's a lot of you just got to go do it, right?
Yes.
I have a family friend who's a comic, and his name's Earl Skakel. And he's from the Skakel family. Related to the Kennedys, right?
The Kennedys.
Yeah. And he's
that's
big
good.
in the L.A. Area. He's made the breakthrough to TV.
Yes.
And but that's been like a 20-year journey for him.
That's true. It does not happen overnight when people think it's gonna. That's why you have to do other things, or the way my improv is kind of helping the comedy and the comedy's helping the improv. It is a 20-year journey. I've only been doing it, 4 or 5 years, and I'm on stage sometime with people, like I said, Jimmy Brogan, who wrote for The
Huge,
Tonight
yeah,
Show.
huge,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you just stick with it. If it's your passion and you enjoy it, the minute you don't enjoy it, then get out. And that's how I was with nursing. I would work with some crappy nurses. I said, you need to take a break and go sell makeup at, Nordstrom's or do something different and then come back. We live in a country we get to pick what we do, so don't be crabby.
There you go. So when you reflect on the different things you're doing, where are you going? What's next for you?
I see Improv for Health as a necessary vehicle that should be in a lot of, whether it's hospitals, schools. I was doing this, and a 90-some-year-old woman who retired from teaching, she said, they need this in schools. You started off by talking about kindergarten. They need it in junior high. The kids in middle school are going through so much where they could feel free to talk and say it in a safe zone. And so I'm now talking with a young gal who does coaching for middle school kids, and we're going to have an improv a life thing where we're going to do it probably on a Saturday or a Sunday, and we're going to do it for 3 or 4 weeks in a row because she's trying to get out there to help the middle school kids. So we teamed up together, and we're going to do some of that. I would like to leave a legacy. Improv for Health, enjoy your moments, is something that I see it helping. And the way the world is, we're all from different parts. We need to say what's on our mind in a comfortable way and then move on. So I was at a network meeting, and this one gal wanted the number of a guy, and I said, I'll give it to you. Hold your pants on. So that's like from the East Coast. She took it literally. She said, if you didn't call me because I was so insensitized when you said that, I don't think we would have been friends anymore. And I said, I was going to give it to you in an hour after I finished what I was working on. So we all need to realize that sometimes when somebody says something, it's not literal, and you can call them on it. So, yeah, I picked up the phone and called her, and she thanked me. And then when I was speaking with the ladies from the Philharmonic, they're all 70, 80, 90, one woman said, I had a fight with Betty, and we don't even know what it was about. Now we're not friends anymore. So I said, go home today and call Betty and just start from today. Then she added, I hope Betty's still alive, which I couldn't help her there, but maybe she was. But, we need to just, not hold on to things, folks. When I do a talk, I talk about whoosh, look at your shoulder, and like the Disney song, let it go.
Or judge so quickly.
You're right.
And we're living it, and it's particularly true on the campus with this new cancel culture where, everybody is being outed, everybody's being, told on. And what's that's translated, for instance, at the university is I can't say nothing, all right? And so the humor that I might normally offer, the warmth that I might
Right.
normally offer, I'm not allowed. Okay.
So now we have to judge ourselves and think 3 times before we even say something. And I'm kind of saying, let's go back to the days where we put our foot in our mouth and say, oops, I didn't mean it that way. And take your foot out and say, this is how I meant it. People need to, let's get real, so to speak.
Yeah. In fact, Chris Rock, the comedian, has talked about this. And he says he just won't do college campuses anymore because there's so much that he shouldn't do.
Can't say this, can't say that. Yeah. I felt a little of that in Portland, so I tried to make it tight. And again, it was only 4 or 5 minutes, and you don't want to offend anybody. Or you just say, you know what, this is who I am. This is how it goes. And if you say that first and then welcome, but I know what you mean. People, and I don't think people need to do that to the degree they're doing it. Because then, again, it's taking up brain room. There's only so much room in your brain. You got to focus on the positive and don't leave the negative stuff in your brain.
I do embrace that.
Yeah.
And I think of the the comedians that I've grown up loving over decades. And if we, put handcuffs on them about all these issues, that's about 90% of their comedy.
That's right. So what are they going to say? Something to make you happy. It has to be real, and I truly believe that that's what we have to go back to. Yeah, I really do. I'm right with you, John. I hear you. And then people could say I was a little hurt by that, like my friend who said, "Why did you tell me to hold my pants on?" Well, it meant I was going to give you the information, but probably in an hour, and so people, but at least she called me on it. I dropped what I was doing and picked up the phone. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's kind of a regional expression.
It is.
Growing up in the Midwest and then in California, I don't think I've heard that until you've said it, by the way.
Yeah. Hold your pants on.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'll give you the information.
I'll discover that in the classroom where I'll say something, and then suddenly there are puzzled looks, and then everybody pulls out their phone trying to figure out what does he mean by that.
Wow, and now we're so attached to our phone when really all they had to do was raise their hand and ask you.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? That's what we need to go back to. You started with something about shoelaces when you mentioned, do you remember in the very beginning?
I was talking about being in the shoe business.
In the shoe business, right.
Yeah.
So I started adding in my improv talks, in our brains we have telomeres. Some people say telomeres, and they're similar to the aglets on the end of your shoelaces. And as you get older, they don't have to fray. People think they do. We need to stay engaged, talk to people. So there's 7 things I want to tell you that will actually help the telomeres. They're the protective end caps on our chromosomes.
I'm listening.
One is exercise, which we all know we need to do. This one gets a lot of people. I got to tell you, at times, sleep at least 6 hours. And the best sleep is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And being a comic, I don't always get to bed at 10, but I try. And the thing is, if you're going to bed after 2, you're missing that best sleep, the REM sleep. So 10 to 2, sleep at least 6 hours. Inflammation. People have a lot of inflammation. Get that under control. Brain exercise, and that doesn't mean sit in front of your computer and play games by yourself. Make it interactive. Socialization, what we're doing now. Nutrition, we all know that. And getting your medical conditions under control. And those 7 things will keep you younger and healthier. And you too can just say, I have a number. It's not OLG.
Yeah. Something I wanted to explore a little further, and I have to ask, you said cherish the moments, live the moments. What was that expression?
I have a saying, enjoy your moments.
Enjoy your
and
moments.
That's what I'm going to, I'm getting it written on T-shirts so that I could sell T-shirts at because when you go to these comedy clubs, people want to buy things. So I have a book that I'm starting, Enjoy Your Moments, and my T-shirts will say enjoy your moments or enjoy your moments always, because that is all we have. That really, that's what it is. It's moments. And I've seen that. I was a nurse at UCLA in the cardiac floor, and people think they're going to have more moments, and some of them do, and some don't. So really, it's like, and don't hold grudges, and that's where the whoosh comes in. Like you were saying, just enjoy your moments, folks. That's all you got.
Right. And I was reading the other day, Common Thread. I was reading about regardless of the hand that you're dealt, your health, your status in society, your relationship, there are still good things to celebrate and to enjoy.
Oh, yes.
And you need to focus on those and kind of let go of the negativity, right?
Who's the guy that was born with no arms and no legs? And I met him. Do you know what I mean? He wrote a book called Life Without Limbs, and I met him a few times. He's married. He has 2 boys. He's an international speaker. He married an Asian woman, and I'm sorry, his name, Life Without Limbs is the name of his book, and
Then
I met him.
We can find that.
Yeah, he's an amazing person, and he grew up, and his mom said, "You're just like everybody else," and yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. So I was reading up in preparation. So even with people with dementia, there's an opportunity to have joy and pleasure and to celebrate where they're at, even if it's with a brain that's shrinking, right?
That's right. I think the hard thing with the dementias, the people that work with them or live with them, my dad had it toward the end, and they would ask the same questions over and over. And I know it's hard. My sister said, oh, my gosh, it was around Christmas time I was back there. He said, look at the lights. I said, I know, it's Christmas. And then he repeated, why is everybody decorating? I go, it's December. So, yes, it's frustrating to answer the same question, but they, just answer them. Just say something. Christmas is coming, or Christmas ended, or this people like to decorate on this block. It's just the idea. You have to answer them. You can't just say, I told you that 5 minutes ago. So for your own peace of mind and your own creativity, I don't know, I would just say something different each time. It doesn't, they need an answer back. And they may ask you the same question 5 times.
Right, right. So in your world today, do you have advisors or mentors who coach you and help you?
I have some friends, this young friend, Michelle, who are going to work together. I don't have a mentor. I could use one. If a mentor wants to drop out of the sky there and come my way, it would help, because people are finding me. There was a woman that did a podcast in Florida, and she's a female doctor who specializes in fibromyalgia. And she was interviewing all doctors and medical people, and at the end she picked me because she wanted to close up her series. It went 10 weeks. So yeah, I could use a mentor. I've never had one.
So that's what we'll coach our startups.
Yeah,
is that,
I could use
that sometimes it's kind of lonely starting a business.
Yeah.
If you look at it as you're going through the jungle and you're kind of cutting your way through the path, it's nice to have someone to provide advice and coach you. Another question I had is that when you're on stage as a comedian, in this case, are you managing some fear? I guess my fear would be, I'm not funny.
Sometimes that happens.
I just look funny, yeah. So.
Well, we all kind of think like that. But again, with anything, preparation is the key. If you know your material and you feel very comfortable with your material, yes, it'll change a little according to each audience, but you have your set routine. And even though you mentioned Robin Williams, he went off his cuff. I think he knew where he was going. He could just change it a little according to the audience. So we all have to, and that'll happen. And they may not laugh every minute, and I was told, slow down. I have a tendency of going too fast. I'm from the East Coast. I could talk really fast, but I won't.
That's interesting, because you need to. And so when I think of the pace of the delivery of the different comedians,
yes,
it's really varied. Some are just, are just really, really fast. And if there's no laugh, they just go on to the next one.
And that's not really good, because that happened in a couple of my shows. I knew I was talking too fast, and then I was on another joke, and as I'm telling it, this guy bust out laughing. And I looked at him and I did say, so are you getting that joke recently? And he said, no, like 3 back, but I really liked it. So he was there, but he just said 3 back. And I said, okay. So a friend told me who is a coach for comics, and he says, you need to let them laugh because they like what they heard. But you have to slow down, allow them to laugh. You would make a good stand-up, John, because you do deliver and then you pause. See, I have a hard time with the pause.
Well, I can see why the audience has to process it, too.
They do. They do.
It might be, you could bridge to a current event, and they have to think, do I know that current event? Oh, now I get it.
Oh, now I get it, yes. Yeah, my one son speaks Mandarin, and I do talk about how everything's from China, but not my babies. They came from the vagina. And that's a medical term. And then I move on, and people are like, oh, okay. So I do put medical terminology in, but you're right. You must let them process it. And a friend who is a great comic who's been doing this for years, he said it's a gift to let them process it and laugh.
Oh, it's a gift from the comic to the audience.
Yes.
I see.
Yes,
okay.
Give them that gift.
Yeah, okay.
Give
All
them,
right.
don't deny them the gift of just running into another joke.
Yeah.
So, I'm
So
pondering
do you
that.
go to clubs? Well, obviously you go to clubs.
Yes,
And
yes.
you hear other comedians. Is it something that maybe you did out of appreciation? I used to go to New York, and I used to go to Dangerfields all the time.
Oh, boy.
Because I was working in the financial community,
Yeah.
and I was on West Coast time, so I'd go to Dangerfields Club. And, Rodney would occasionally be there, but I saw, many up-and-coming folks, and I just loved it. I just loved it.
I see a comic in the making here. I see a comic,
Yeah.
Johnny.
Like-
Your delivery, your pause.
I'm
all
an
your-
aficionado.
all
I
your
dig
life,
it,
yeah, all your life situations. That's sort of what they told me when I started. Write down 10 different things about yourself, and then eventually you'll figure out how to weave them together. And there's jokes in each of those situations.
Yeah.
So,
This isn't about me. It's about you.
I think he wants to do stand-up, folks. So when he does his first one, we should all support him.
There we go. Yeah.
Let us know.
But I love going back in time. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Marx Brothers and Groucho, and he had that just lightning wit.
And when you talk about the older comics, that's something else. A lot of them may have rubbed people the wrong way, especially nowadays where we have to be so careful with what we say. Some of them, take my wife, please. It's like, oh my gosh, she's being sexist. So I think when we walk into a comedy club, we should shed that layer of thinking, I hope they don't hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I think it should be a requirement.
It should be a requirement. Well,
you'll sign a release at the door saying
you're not going to hurt my feelings no matter what you say.
Yeah.
That's right.
So here's an existential question. So what's your superpower? What is it that you have that makes you special and different?
My superpower is getting people to participate in things that they think they cannot do, where I will draw them out and I will tell them how great they are, because inside everyone is a great person, and curiosity is generosity. So a superpower is sharing moments one-on-one, but getting people involved, whether I'm leading a group and I need volunteers, whether I'm traveling and I say to the attendant in the bathroom, thank you for cleaning these toilets because I appreciate it. Although I may go over the top, I may start clapping and say, whoa, they're so sparkly, because I drink a lot of water, I drink a lot of coffee, and I appreciate it. So I told a friend to do that, and she said, what would she think of me? I said, well, first of all, she probably will never see you again. And second of all, you may make her day, because you don't know that you may be the only person that person talks to all day. So it's not about you. So that's my thing. We only go around once, so let's share our moments. I guess that's my superpower.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So it's a year from now, and we're to meet again. Maybe I'll have you back as a guest. What are you going to have experienced or achieved or learned?
I will have traveling more. This past April, I got to travel to Alaska and I spoke at the convention in Anchorage, which was amazing. First time in Alaska, and it was a work trip, so I would like to do more traveling. So consider bringing me out to your area, folks, and I will be an energetic speaker. I will have my book either ready to go or mostly done. I will have the T-shirts because people want to buy T-shirts at comedy shows. They'll buy anything. So I will have the T-shirts, and I will be off and running. Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
So if people want to follow up with you, where do they find you?
Okay, I have a website, Improv for Health, and I also have another website, NanciannHorvath.com, where I have a young girl that helps me put things up, whether it's a speaking event or a comedy. And my name is Nanciann, and it's all mushed together. It's Nanciann. Horvath is Horv, like Victor, ATH. So my personal website is NanciannHorvath.com. And on Facebook, I have a business page, so I post a lot of things there, and that's Improv for Health, also on Facebook. So that's where I post a lot of the things, and I could get them up faster.
Right. And then for your performances, do you have an event page? I don't know how far
Yeah, I
in
kind of
advance
just
you're booked, or
You're right. I am booked, and I kind of put them on the Nanciann Horvath. Today I had 3 talks. Preparing now for the Parkinson's, which is coming in December. I'll be their main entertainer for their event in December. And I'm still taking bookings, and I do like to travel, folks, so consider bringing me to your town. I'm from the East Coast. I have family there, so traveling is no problem.
all right,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
cool.
Thank you, John. Yeah.
Any final thoughts or questions you have, or it's completely open? So.
Okay, it's our life. It's a gift. So we should be in control of our life. I know it's hard. Sometimes situations happen. I say live the life you love the life you live, and your mountain is waiting. So as Dr. Seuss said, get on your way and live. Everybody has different restrictions, but take your ball and go and run.
All right, that's
Yeah.
good advice. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. So I wanted to say thank you to our guest today, Nanciann Horvath, and thank you to our listeners. Be sure to follow up with your comments on the Fullerton website, which is fullerton.edu. And you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, or visit my website, johnbradleyjackson.com. And until next week, let's all have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.